So hi, everyone. We are excited to get to chat with you guys, with each other, and with you guys a bit today. To kick things off, we would love to know, first of all, who in the audience identifies as a designer? Okay, who in the audience identifies as an engineer? Who identifies as both? We'll do both hands for this one.
High five yourselves. It's a hard job.
Who identifies as creative? Awesome.
Ooh, good.
All right, so to kick things off, we have a great group for you here today. And we have an engineer, a designer, and somebody who trained as a designer and works for both engineers, supporting both designers and engineers. So to give a little bit of context for each person, and we're going to try to kind of keep this sort of light today. So first of all, Meher. Meher has led design formats for ads at Etsy and has worked across many, many different disciplines and is currently heading up design for a company called Riley, which is an AI parenting app, or AI app for parents. Natalya worked at the New York Times and taught design at Harvard's Extension School and is currently leading design systems for GitHub. And Maria is a long-tenured engineer at Google who has been using AI to close the gap between design and engineering and is now working on Google Cloud. So we'll start with just some fun facts from each one of you. So Meher, you want to give us a few fun facts about yourself?
Sure. Fun fact number one, the only license I have is a deep sea diving license. I can barely ride a bicycle, and I definitely cannot drive a car. Fun fact number two is my apartment in New York has been featured on a bunch of different publications like Apartment Therapy and Kyle. So there are tours of it all over the internet, and sometimes that's a really strange thing to realize when someone just calls it out to you randomly. And then
now we all want to see your apartment.
You can search my name and Apartment Therapy will probably pop up. And then third one is I consider myself a world citizen. I was born in India, but I grew up in the Middle East, mainly Dubai, and I've been in New York for 12 years and now exploring what life outside of America looks like, which has been an adventure. So if anyone else has done that, come find me later and give me your best tips. I'm all open.
Recruit her to Malaga, guys.
Hi, I'm Natalya. You probably heard from me earlier today if you weren't hungover and you came in early enough to see my talk. I AI generated some great fun facts for you all, just kidding. I live in New York. My cats' names are Waffle and Lumen. I'm a mom. I like to paint, draw, and I'm a classically trained artist, so I actually like to stay away from computers a lot. And actually, my favorite thing in the world, other than technology, is ecosystem restoration. So if you want to talk to me about rewilding some acres upstate New York, that's my favorite thing to talk about, actually.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria. I'm from Malaga, but I spent the last 14 years living abroad. Fun fact, I have a twin sister who looks exactly like me, but instead of Google, works at Meta, designing the glasses, so I like to joke that she's my evil twin. Also, she now lives in California, where we were neighbors, but for a while she lived in Boston, and as you know, there's a movie called Tú a Boston y yo a California. And so, yeah, the parent trap in English. Another fun fact, I have a German husband, but our kids were born in the States. So our house is like this crazy mix of languages every day, where we speak the 3 languages at different times. So if you ever come over, it would be a mess. You wouldn't understand half of it.
Awesome. All right, so kind of switching gears to AI-focused things, I'd love to hear from each one of, we would all love to hear from each one of you a little bit about just kind of what you are working on currently. So we can start sort of there. Maria, do you want to?
Sure. What I'm working on right now, so in April, I joined Google Cloud as there's a new role called AI Field Solutions Architect, which is a mouthful for building AI-based applications for Google Cloud customers. We mostly build chatbots and search engines using Gemini as a large language model.
I work on the Primer design system at GitHub. It's open source, so you can just poke around and see all our work. It's all extremely online. But the things that I'm most excited about now are, I'm just going to leave it to you to connect the dots, are boy, if someone wrote all the design guidelines and principles and design abstractions into a nice little how-to guide, and if people don't read, but maybe AI does, what can we build? So that my tagline I keep using at work is like, it's UI at the speed of AI. Anyway, I'm going to make some tote bags. It's going to stick.
Hi, before I share what I'm doing right now, how many of you are parents in the audience? Put your hand up. Okay. And how many of you have kids under 5? Okay, there's a few people in here. Great, just wanted to vibe check, pulse check. So I lead design right now at Riley, and Riley is an AI-augmented app that helps empower the parenthood journey from the most crucial years of a child's age, which is the first 5 years, and beyond. And something that's really exciting for me while I work on this is while Riley allows you to like track everything from sleep, diapers, feedings, to actually help you parent and support you in your parenting journey. Something that's been really fun for me is actually studying the functionality of AI and how it intersects with the nuance of the emotional experience of being a parent. Because the UX trends and the design that we use to create AI tools is very different from the UX trends and the emotional factor for parenting apps. And just finding the intersection between the two has been both challenging, and probably that's why it's really fun.
Awesome, thanks. Maria, could you tell us a little bit about an AI product or AI-fueled product that you've worked on that you're proudest of or you feel like has had the biggest impact?
Sure. I think the product that I'm most proud of that is based on artificial intelligence to this date was back when I was on Android. So before joining Cloud, I spent 10 years working on Android in California. And this was about, well, we had a lot of AI-based algorithms to estimate your location. This is the blue dot that you see on Google Maps. Did anybody navigate using Google Maps this week? Yeah? Yeah, if it doesn't work, it's because of my previous team, sorry. Hopefully it does most of the time. We would build all those algorithms with artificial intelligence ideas borrowed from robotics, the same algorithms that are used by the Roomba that swipes your floor at home and that knows very smartly where to go and where to keep sweeping. But then what we did, the part that I'm most proud of, is that what we did is build a project called Android Emergency Location Service that would take that latitude and longitude and send it to first responders, either 911 in the US or 112 here in Spain, and send it to first responders so that they can find you faster. And the Federal Communications Commission in the US was estimating that for every minute that you could save in finding a person, you could actually save 10,000 lives a year in the US alone, imagine worldwide. And this is now live as of today in more than 50 countries. But I started it in the evenings as of my pet personal project, as a 20% project back at Google. And yeah, that's the one that I'm most proud of as of today.
Can we get a, come on.
And you mentioned that you had seen a huge spike in responses with the Valencia floods recently,
That's
too.
right, that's right. The other day, I don't work on this project anymore, again, because I changed teams, but we saw huge spikes with the floods in Valencia by an order of magnitude of 6. So we know for sure this is helping in critical moments like a horrible situation like that one. Super proud of the team taking care of that right now, which is not me anymore, but they're doing amazing.
Thank you for all of your work. All right, Natalya, can you tell us a bit about an AI-related product or project that you're most proud of?
That is very easy to follow. Thank you.
Yeah. Very, very easy.
Critical to me, no, this is going to sound very like, I think a perfect balance is there's the life-saving work you can do, but you can also do work that's meaningful to you that no one else is going to see. My favorite project to this day is, so my daughter is 7, and I have this story about the popsicle lollipop princess that, of course, we co-created together over many bedtimes. And I took, one day, I recorded myself and her telling the story back and forth, and I got the transcript that I put into ChatGPT, and I got it to write me a 20-page children's book that then I also got illustrated for the, with like okay, it's a popsicle, but also equally a lollipop princess, you know? And I got a lot of art direction from my daughter on what that vision is, and then I published a little book just for her. So my daughter feels like a published author. I have this permanent, awesome memory of a good memory we had, and I know I would have never, ever finished that with all my spare time as a full-time working mom. So that was also my favorite project, because now we have that tangible thing together.
I want to buy it.
Awesome.
I want to get a copy. Yeah.
Meher, I know you talked quite a bit about what Riley is already doing, so I don't know if you want to add anything more, if you feel like you covered it fairly well.
I can share what my favorite part about it is.
All right,
and
let's
I think Riley has a lot of cool features, but one of the ones that I'm really excited about is this thing we're calling the golden window, and it's essentially when you track your baby's diapers and sleep times and feedings after a certain period of time. We actually just tell you what the best time to do those things with your kids is based on how they responded to your tracked data. So not only are we collecting your data, but we're gonna analyze it for you and tell you what to do with it, which then means that we use AI to do the mundane so that you can focus on the profound and really be present for your child. And I think it's just been a really fun thing to watch parents like light up to when they see it in research and they're like, oh my God, I need that yesterday. So I'd say like that's one of my favorite little pieces right now.
And it's definitely a theme we've heard.
Yeah.
It's definitely,
Thank you.
yeah. It's definitely a theme that we've heard kind of over and over again, right? Is really how can we use AI to do all of the mundane that really kind of empowers us to be creative, to co-create with our children, and yeah, save lives. And this is, yeah, it's awesome. So great. So I think there are kind of two different things that sort of you guys are all kind of working with the intersection of. One is sort of how AI can actually change the user experience. So how, like, in what ways AI is changing how people are interacting with products. And then the other is really how AI is changing how you work in your roles. So I'd love to hear a little bit about sort of what you feel like has really shifted in kind of how you work and the products that you output. So yeah, whoever would like to answer, start off. Go for it.
I'm going to throw a wrench in
Go
that
for
whole
it.
question
Yeah,
right away.
do it.
Are we asking the right question? Because for me, I'm like, our tools shape us as much as we, use the tools. Like, they're changing how our brains think and work. So as much as I love talking about, like, this is a cool hammer, I'm like, yeah, but like, what happens to the user? Like, our tools changing the user. So I'm very privileged in the design system world. As designers are focused on the customer, I'm focused also on the designer. And I'm like, how are you all doing? How are you creating? Are you still creating well? Are you doing fine? Like, I get to think about the user experience of the designer, of the people. So I'm thinking about the tools and the workflows endlessly. And so I think for AI specifically, I can see this is going to be a big magic hammer that, like, I don't want to make a Thor reference here, but like you really need to focus on protecting and owning your time, because I think right now what it's going to do is it's probably going to create some learned helplessness where, oh, I don't have AI, I guess I can't do it. Or I don't know what it's going to do. Like if it, just like with user experience things being easy, if they don't work right away, I guess it's broken. Whereas like, maybe you should try a few more times. Where's that grit and resilience to keep going? What's the impact it's going to have on us that's not intended? That's something I love to think about. So what happens when you always have, a calculator or an encyclopedia in your pocket? You don't memorize things as much. You just kind of know how to reference. What happens when you always know you have a little assistant helping you no matter what? I don't know yet, but we're going to find out. And so for me, my focus is on, right now, like, as we're in this battleground for our minds and for our creativity and for our imagination and for our attention, which we know has value because everyone's trying to get it, making sure that I'm in control of it, like I said in my talk, owning my time, holding my own ruler, and holding tight to the principles and the decisions that I make, so that the decisions aren't all made for me. Even identify when decisions have been made for me is a challenge. So yeah, that's.
This kind of reminds me, actually, I'm sorry.
No, you're great. That's it. That was me trailing off.
This kind of reminds me of what you were saying yesterday, actually, which was that we still need moderators to exist. And I think it would be really naive for us to continue to use AI and forget that just because I have an idea and now I can type it in and someone else can create that idea for me, I still don't have the skill set to do that idea myself. And I think there is humility in recognizing that you don't have that skill set. The trend that I've been seeing really often for like new grads is that with the use of AI, they're gonna have to work a lot harder to get jobs now, because they're gonna have to be really good at certain things because AI can do so much that it's like, okay, why do I really need to hire you? But I think this is a two-faced problem. I think one, on the side of employers, a lot of us in this room, or people who have been in this industry for a really long time, I think we are losing the patience to coach and mentor, because we're getting more used to AI that outputs things to us so quickly. On the other hand, they are like, oh, if this thing can do it for me easily, why do I need to do it? And I think somewhere in there, the craft is really, really important. And at the end of the day, AI without research is just sophisticated guesswork. So if we're not asking the right questions, we're not building the right things. And we won't know how to ask the right questions if we don't have the awareness of knowing where our personal skills actually lack. So I feel like it's really important for us to be locked into the relationship we have with AI instead of getting really carried away with like all the cool things it can do, because it can do a lot.
And what's lost, not taking the journey to acquire the skill.
Mm-hmm. Which is like where I think the magic kind of happens, right?
Yeah, I do see AI as, I like to call it the enhancer on everything that I do, any new skill that I want to learn. Recently, in terms of UX, I've been giving a class or two at the University of Malaga here. And, you know, like it's hard to know your audience too well, but I can ask Gemini, look at these slides using this really cool Notebook LM product that we launched recently. And then I was like, can you please like give me feedback on my slides for like an introduction to, it was introduction to architectures in the cloud. Like give me feedback on how I can make it suitable for an introduction, and also comment on the content of each slide, proposing if I should add a diagram or not. So for a person like me who doesn't come from design, it's just a great way to get feedback, because sometimes I can get too technical. And so now it's an enhancer of my presentation, because it can get much better and really speak to the level of the people who are going to listen to it. And the presentation, then I can take it and ask, can you actually make it very complex? Like, tell me what you would add if I had to teach this to a completely different crowd. So for anything that I do now, UX, UI or not, it's like my enhancer, my assistant who helps with pretty much everything I want to do.
And you also mentioned a story recently, too, about how AI really helped you bridge the gap from designs that would have taken you months to implement and were actually very difficult to implement, that helped you implement something a lot faster.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We another feature that I worked on while on Android is the emergency screen. So basically, when your phone is locked and you click on emergency call, it takes you to a screen that shows both your emergency contacts and your emergency information. So if somebody were to find you unconscious or you couldn't speak, they have critical information such as medical conditions, your address, your name, whatever you want to put, anybody can access it, so put whatever you feel comfortable with. In any case, it was super painful in 2016. I had never done an UI-based project. And it was really painful just to find the documentation on how to do like each button, each screen. You click here, you do this, you do that. And the designer was so nice, a designer that, you know, she would give me this beautiful template, but now I have to figure out how to go from code to that screen. And it was very painful, and we did it over a few months, maybe 4 months or so. Fast forward to this past July, I had to deliver an Android Auto prototype for a cloud customer, and it also included UI components on Android. And oh my God, like the experience was so much easier. I just asked Gemini, hey, how can I do this and that? I need to integrate this and that, just write me this code. And it wouldn't always like 100% get it right, like any AI today does, but I could at least like have a starting point and I made so much more progress so fast we had this ready within 3 weeks for a very successful demo. And yeah, I feel so empowered now because it took months, the time before.
It's pretty awesome. Which I think actually brings us to a very interesting question. So Meher, you had mentioned craft. And I think, we saw some demos yesterday of being able to create things in like no time at all, right? And I think it raises a very interesting question of just kind of quality bar and craft of kind of what is outputted. That design goes a long way from thinking about kind of who the product is for and kind of how it is pieced together, all the way down to kind of what the pixels look like on the screen. And I think with being able to generate a website, an app, components very quickly that are put together, like where does kind of the notion of quality or craft come in, and kind of where do we set the quality bar?
So I have a hot take.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that hot actually, but yesterday we built a website in 10 minutes, and I was sitting somewhere in the back there.
Yeah,
and
you were actually the co-founder.
Yeah, I was a fake co-founder, and it was funny to be in that position because once the website was up, in my mind I was kind of laughing because I was like, well, if I was actually the co-founder, we would never ship this. Because I'm a designer by trade, and that's a landing page, which means it's probably for marketing. So, that would not have gotten shipped. That would have been a really good A/B test, though. It would have been a really good A/B test to test language, to test flow, etc. But as a designer, I think I understand that this does not meet the bar for high quality, especially given that someone could just Google where to hike in Malaga, and they'd probably get presented with a bunch of Google links, and they'll probably do a better job because Google is better designed than something I built in 10 minutes. So I think it's really, really important for designers to have the humility of knowing that I'm not a coder. And I have that. So when I use AI tools that help me code, I'm very well aware that I've probably broken something unknowingly. And just because I used AI to code it, I'm not suddenly a coder, right? I'm someone who uses AI to output code. And the same way, I think engineers also need to play that, which is like, okay, I'm not a designer. I've used an AI tool to give me this landing page, and now I kind of know what I want. Maybe I can talk to someone and they can give me advice. I think it would be very naive of us as engineers, designers, et cetera, to not recognize that our domain expertise is our domain expertise. And just because a tool is helping us do the thing, it doesn't mean it's meeting the quality that it needs to meet, especially when it's a consumer product that is going to be output into the world, and people are going to look at it and be like, what is going on here? I don't actually understand that. And I guess that goes back to the craft piece that you were saying, right? Like, you still don't have the physical skills to do that thing. And I think speed is great, but at what cost?
I have another hot take, too. This one's probably spicy, though. If we can accomplish in a few hours what we could do in months, why do we all still feel so time scarce, like we have less time than ever? Is it maybe that the goalposts are shifting and we all assume that somebody in control is going to just take everything they can get, and now we have to do more even faster because we can? And maybe one of the most important things we should question is what's going to happen if that's allowed to continue, and now we're just these output machines tied to an output machine that's also watching us create output. We're more surveilled than ever, which is a creativity killer. We know surveillance and lack of autonomy kill creativity. That's one of the cool links I posted, and I'll share it again. There's a lot of research behind this, and yet we're still doing it. We're on this speeding train that we're all aware of, and we know boredom is important to creativity. We know that this should be freeing up our time. This should be the time we're all cheering and celebrating, like, our time is free. Finally, I don't have to learn something. Great, I've got so much time for activities and hobbies and to be involved in my community. None of us are feeling that. And so I'm wondering, like, if we're really worried about AI taking our way to be creative, or it's taking our ability to get paid and valued for the work we do. If we're really worried about keeping up with everything, or we're worried about what we're going to be expected to keep up with now. So I'm just asking questions, just posing some questions here, spreading some mischief into the crowd, but question the assumptions that we are in, because this is going to be a time of remarkable transformation, because this technology is going to enable a lot of things to change. I want to ask the very creative, amazing people in this room, are the right things changing? Are we solving the right problem? It's stuff I've been asking designers for a lifetime. I'm sure if you've been in any kind of stakeholder meeting, like, are we moving the right needle? Are we shifting the right metrics? Are we measuring the right things? So for this one, I think it's really important we look inward at our own experience. How are we creating? What's our user experience of creating? And with this time that we're freeing up, we should have the ability to go on the journey, to craft, to create, to go deep, to ask massive questions, to think about the long game again. And I hope that's something that you all are going to take with you. Please do that. Please fix everything. Thank you. No pressure.
I have a really good example of what you're saying. At the beginning stages of Riley, when we were supposed to build this onboarding and give it to the engineers, that was supposed to be like a 2-week project. And it's a pretty robust onboarding. It doesn't feel like one when you go through it, but it is. And I decided that the questions we have weren't working. I used to work in insurtech healthcare, and back then, a lead generation form, anything more than 4 questions, you have a drop-off rate. So it doesn't work, it causes friction in the funnel, business isn't happy, et cetera, et cetera. So for this, we had 10 questions, and I was like, oh, 10 questions is not gonna work, let's skim it down. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna push this timeline and run some research. So over the course of 2 months, I spoke to 150 parents, showed them a bunch of stuff, and the most interesting thing I found was in the part of the onboarding where you actually add your child, a question I used to ask them is, what's your child's favorite color? I asked them this because I was like, oh, if you say blue, I'm gonna make your child's avatar blue, and that would be so cute, right? Parents fucking hated it, pardon my French. They were like, why are you asking me this? 1, I don't know, so now I feel like a bad parent. 2, my child's favorite color changes more often than the clothes that they wear, which is a lot of clothes, by the way, if you don't have kids. So I actually don't trust your app anymore because you're not asking me the right questions. And I was like, what were you hoping to be asked? They were like, why haven't you asked me what my child is like? And I was like, why haven't I asked you what your child is like? I would not have gotten to that had I not pushed the timelines, had we not taken the time to talk to the people, had I just taken screenshots of this, put it into an AI tool and been like, what do you think about this? I would have gotten some pretty helpful feedback, which, by the way, I did do. And they told me my button looks like shit, it is an accessibility issue, so I did solve for that too. But it would not have been able to tell me what parents were saying, how a lot of the dads actually wanted an onboarding flow of 4 questions, and a lot of the moms, the more questions we ask them, the more trust they have in the onboarding, because they feel like you actually care about me, and whatever you tell me, you're doing it because you know me. And I think that's a really, really good example of taking the time where time needs to be taken instead of trying to productivity hack our way into pretty much everything.
Yeah, you can be wrong real fast, too.
Real fast, and you need to be so open to being wrong and not leaving the curiosity up to the AI. You need to be curious on your own.
So this has all been awesome, the 3 of you. In the last little bit of time that we have, I would love to just hear from each one of you, kind of rapid fire, what's top of mind?
We are not anymore what we study. I'm a telecommunications engineer, and I feel like that's not the important thing anymore. I wouldn't say I'm a telecommunications engineer. I think we need to be fluid in how we define ourselves in our jobs, and be ready to learn anything that comes along the way to face this AI-centered future.
Building teams to create and lead innovation at scale. I think that's what it says in my bio. I'm trying to prepare the next generation. I mean, not just for my daughter, but also the many creative people I work with. A lot of folks feel on their own. A lot of people don't feel creative anymore, and a lot of people are burned out, but we can create the conditions for creativity again, and it's going to be through collaboration, communication, and a lot of cleverness, because we're going to have to solve this with cleverness.
Using AI to digitally scale empathy and not using it as a tool to replace human interaction, but instead to support it. Like at Riley, we're not trying to replace your co-parent or your family or your support system. We're just trying to help you be more present to those people and your kids.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.